I didn't want to talk about Australia, but we have to because we're going to play them in August. We're going to play them twice, in Johannesburg and in Cape Town, and we're going to pump them. Whether it's 15, 20 or 30 points, that's going to be determined by who's left after Saturday and who makes it to their third test. They say they brought back the muscle. I didn't even know they had muscle.
Mate, you're sleeping on this. The Wallabies are going to bounce back this week in a big way. You're going to have to apologize to our Wallaby fans on Monday.
I did once when I called them a few things.
I remember clearly,
I'm
mate.
not going down that route again. Suffice to say, I backed them in the first test to take it by a point. I felt they did surrender. I agree with Sir Clive for once.
Woof.
When Harry Wilson kicked it into touch.
Dangerous
They
waters,
didn't
mate.
go for another one. And the Australians are saying, we never surrender, mate. It's not like us to do that. No, you surrendered. You were pummeled. 24-5 was more reflection of that game than an 8-pointer, even though the bookies got it right. They had 8.5, so they were pretty on the money there. 100,000 MCG. The only thing missing will be the late Shane Warne. And I don't even know if they had Warney in the lineup, if they could beat the British and Irish Lions. More the Irish and British Lions. And 9 Irish blokes in the starting 15. And there would have been more. That would have been the odd injury. Australia, they brought in big Will Skelton. And they brought in Rob Valentini, one of our favourite players. But they just don't have the minerals. When I saw that first test match, I was so shocked at their lack of appetite. And then to hear the players when it really arrived for the first hour. You've had 12 years to prepare for this test match. You've had one warm-up game against Fiji, which took you 79 minutes to win. And your excuse is, we weren't quite there for the first hour. Now, if they'd been pumped by 30 points, but had put in this incredibly passionate display in that first 45 minutes, I would have understood that, just not good enough. But when you hear a team saying, the players saying, newbies, we weren't quite mentally there in that first hour, what price at the MCG, mate? Or what are you basing it on?
Mate. Australia are going to win this test, mate. Australia are going to win this test. They've got, they are reinforced. They hadn't played a lot of rugby before that one. I don't think that they were missing for the first hour. I thought their defense was very spirited. I'd give them an A+ for effort. What they lacked was a little bit of brains, mate. The way they were defending schematically, not very aggressive, gave the Lions all the time on the ball they wanted. Who was the MVP of the game for the Lions? Tuipulotu. He's not there, mate. Bundiaki's back. All 45 years of him. I don't see it, mate. I see the Wallabies bouncing back in a big way. Dave Parecki's back in the middle of the front row. Triple A at tight head, mates. And they got a Skelton out of their cupboard. Will Skelton at lock. Valentini's back in the mix, mate. Tom Liner is going to be better this week. And your boy, Tom Wright, is at fullback. Big things coming.
Well, they've mentioned Tommy Wright. I know he has apologized to the Hammies thirds that he won't be making it this weekend.
Can't play touch on Saturday,
but he could be here in a month. Down at Hammies having a few training sessions. It will actually happen. He's going to be in Cape Town.
No doubt, mate.
They do train there. And you can finally say, look at that guy on the 13th field. Hey, who's that Hammies 13th fullback?
Yeah.
That's Tom Wright.
Wait till Joe Schmidt sees the Hammies third team fullback, mate. Tom Wright may be in a bit of trouble.
Does your grandmother or grandfather come from Australia?
Yeah, exactly.
So, no, I just... You want for the sake of the series, you want Australia to win. It's not often one wants Australia to win.
Yeah.
You had this incredible thing when we were in Barrydale last weekend for Dobbo's 5 Arts weekend. You had Springbok World Cup winners cheering the Aussies on to beat the British Irish Lions, and people looking at me cheering the Wallabies on. And it's like, who do you dislike more?
Yeah.
That's one of the. It's like the Ashes. Who do you dislike more?
Correct, mate.
But within 10 minutes, that cheering stopped, and everyone went. Poured a bomb squad beer. I took a drive around the block to look for a few things. Came back, nothing had changed. Look for an Aussie with a bit of ticker. Couldn't find one. Okay. Strauss. Strauss. I'll talk about him a bit later. But I just wanted Australia to be more competitive. I really thought Suncorp 73% win record since '95. That is seen as their spiritual home, and they needed to be 24-5 up somehow and see what have these Lions got when they've got to come back, and they're not starting with a 40-point handicap kind of in their favor.
Yeah.
Looking at the Lions team, I do agree with you. Any British and Irish Lions team that loses 1 or 2 of their Southern Hemisphere imports isn't quite as strong.
Correct.
I do like that Scottish captain that you said was born, raised, and made his professional debut in Australia. Spent the first 22 years of his life there, and he's been a proud Scotsman for the last 3. He was the best player on the field, and he was Australian.
There you go, man.
And he scored the first try of the series.
There you go.
So if the odds were
An Australian will score the first
an
try,
Australian,
you had to pay up.
you're in the money.
you
Okay.
go.
There was talk that James Lowe was under pressure. I don't see how, because Duan van der Merwe scored 5 tries, but he hasn't really been the Duan van der Merwe we saw in South Africa, the one that plays for Scotland. He's kind of gobbled up a few and scored, but he hasn't really been that involved, kind of taken the game to them. I'm glad Hugh Jones has got a second opportunity.
Yes, he's been
It does help that Gary Rinro's got another head knock.
Jonesy's worth it. I mean, he's good value.
I just don't feel this team's been tested anyway. That they've been under the pump, been under pressure to see how do they react.
But that's what I was talking about with Australia's defence, is you can't give the Lions opportunity just to sort of hold your line integrity, always have numbers on your feet. You've got to roll the dice and go up and smash these guts. You've got to ask the Lions some questions that make sort of test their cohesion and test their ticker. You can't just let them have the ball and hope they're going to make an error. These guys won't. They are slick.
Look, well, I've got I've got them to win 35-20, and that's not Australia. The madness has stopped. I've got to go with my head, not my heart.
Sure.
And I'm going with the British and Irish Lions. The Irish and British Lions to take the series, and the third test I'll play all the other guys.
29-26 Wallabies, mate.
They'll walk out of there with, sorry, I didn't even hear you. They'll walk out there with 3-0 series win. Australia will come here depleted. We'll pump them, put it all into context. Australia will end last in the Rugby Championship, and it will put everything into perspective. And Henry Pollock will say, but we beat them 3-0, and everyone else has beaten them by 0. And well, that's it. So this was not the year for the Lions to go and showcase that they're the greatest Lions team ever. They're a successful Lions team who has beaten a very average, substandard Australian
So you're saying they're not very
national team. I don't think they're particularly good. And yeah, that's why they're ranked 8th in the world, bud. If they were good, they'd be in the top 3. They wouldn't have won 1 out of 6 in the Rugby Championship. They wouldn't have taken 67 points against Argentina in Argentina, and they certainly wouldn't have lost back-to-back test matches against the Springboks, but pretty much 20 points each time when the Boks changed the starting line by 10.
Yeah.
Now, mate, if that's not a compelling case.
That is a good case, mate, and I'm not disputing any of those points about the Wallabies. I just don't rank the Lions as highly as other people do. So I think they're there or thereabout. I think this was world rankings, the Lions would be in the 8th sort of territory.
No, they would be a combination of what they are, and they would be
Say
fourth.
it, mate.
It would be basically South Africa, New Zealand, France, or France, New Zealand, and then they would be there, fourth. Fourth ranked in the world. So it's 4 plays 8.
I don't know.
It's a bit like a Bledisloe Cup a few years ago.
Yeah. Ireland would beat this team, I reckon. Ireland.
Well, there's 9 of them in that, eh? So it's like you'd have to look to the Munster guys because those Leinster boys are there.
They're all there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as I keep on saying, nice to have gone in there, 1-1 into the third test. A bit of geese going there, to quote Scott Gibbs. Geese. We're going to get the geese going. Jack Morgan's on the bench. Nice to see him there. James O'Connor will have to wait to the third test to get a little run, a little kind of emotional, probably romantic send-off. He may just come here and play in the Rugby Championship. But yeah, it just hasn't delivered on the hype, I think, because of the one-sided scores, the fact that Australia has been below par. This isn't the 2001 series where it's the Gregans, the Larkhams, the Owen Finnegans, the John Eales up against the Jason Robinsons and those kind of guys. Went down to the third test. George Gregan, when they smoked them.
Wow.
Came back to win it 2-1.
Great.
That's when Wallaby rugby was at its strongest. But you didn't tune in here to listen to about the Wallabies.
You got a bit of yellow on your jersey there, mate.
I have, mate. And it's not Australian yellow.
That is weird, mate. I've got the Wallabies yellow, you got the All Blacks black on there.
Exactly, because it's who we're going to pump in this rugby championship. Because we have box by 10, baby.
Yes.
So thanks to our partners, Macron, they've started to produce the box by 10 shirts. We'll be wearing a different range over the next couple of weeks. Hoodies to come, and we'll test your appetite to see if you like them. They'll come in black because we'll beat the All Blacks. They'll come in green because we'll beat no one but ourselves.
Because we're the best.
The Kangaroos as well as the Wallabies.
Yes.
And they'll come in white, our neutral colors as well. And nice to go out with. Go to the braai.
It's their way. It's when you go to a bride, someone else's house, you wear the white.
It's inoffensive, man.
At your house, it's the green one.
Hi, guys. I've got nothing to say. Just box by 10. So we'll let you know on our WhatsApp channel, on SA Rugby Magazine, social media. where to go to, what the pricing is. But we've put them on for the first time today. They are Italian sizes, so you're going to have to go up in your sizes, but a nice, comfortable fit.
Oh, it is a nice
comfortable fit.
Yeah, but it feels like carbs on the inside.
Yeah, that's the you six-pack me the barrel. Okay? So, but that will change over the next 2 months. I'm apparently going to start doing some Pilates.
Oh, let's go, mate.
Yeah, they're going to elongate me a bit.
Imi's going to get a photograph of you with your ankle behind your head.
What did you say to me? Just stick at it.
Just
if you can break the first 3 months.
Push through, mate. It's the hardest thing you'll do. For a guy to do Pilates, it's not fun. But
Well, I'm going to give it a crack, mate.
Give it a good crack.
It's that, or I'll be a Ronnie Coleman.
I can't carry you on my back forever, mate.
For those who don't know who Ronnie Coleman is, just forget I haven't said that.
Yeah.
Looking at the box. Looking at the box. He's not a rugby player. Looking at the box, Rassie Erasmus has selected a squad to basically play in South Africa against the Wallabies. 37 players. We know Jasper's unavailable. He will play in that Wellington test, Jasper Wiese. 3 of the under-20 Zels who have come in to get a feel of what it means to play in an under-20 World Cup and then go and train with the best team in the world. A few omissions, players sent back to their provinces to potentially play in the Currie Cup, to train with their URC squads. Your general consensus of the 37 Russes has picked?
I think it makes perfect sense, mate. There were no surprise selections there. A little bit disappointed for Neertes to be out of the squad because I think he adds massive value. And, I mean, he's a guy who's filled in for arguably the best tight head in the world when he's on form, Francois Haver, and has been really, really good for them. So Neertes is a guy I think has got a long and bright future for the Boks. Maybe Russie's sent him back to get some game time in the Currie Cup, I don't know, with a view to picking him later on in the Rugby Championship. But I think he could add massive value there. For the rest of them, I'm not hugely surprised. Faf hasn't been central to the Bok plans for quite a bit. Makazole brings a unique skill set to the wing position in terms of his physicality, which maybe the Boks aren't necessarily going to lean into against Australia, but may use against the All Blacks. Like you said, Jasper is suspended. Thomas du Toit is mandatory rest for the English Premiership. So it made perfect sense to me. I'm excited about the 3 youngsters that got called up. For me, that's the story. 3 young guys just won the Junior World Championship. And they're in and around the Boks. I think Hashim Peter is a guy who could probably fit in the quickest of the 3. Batu Klikani, the flanker, huge props. I think he's going to have a very big future for the Boks. Very physical runner, also athletic. The guy could potentially do a bit of everything for us in the loose trio. And then Cheswell Hurst, the speed merchant deluxe, punches above his weight, great finisher, electric player. So very excited to see those guys in and around the mix, and I'm sure they're going to learn a lot.
What do you think the purpose of that is? To just a bit of perspective to those players themselves and to the public, that the national coach can speak with authority and say it is one thing to win an under-20 World Championship that happens every year in a cycle of under-20s. But coming to the big dogs is a different story. A bit like he did with the Varsity Cup winner. Had him in there, everyone's, this is amazing, kind of basically said, go back to the Cheetahs, start working in your game, and showed him what he needs to do if he ever wants to play for South Africa again. Although he didn't sound wholeheartedly convincing, Rassie, when he was talking about the potential of having him back into a camp.
Yeah.
But like you say, he's identified in 3 specific areas. Outside backs, a 9 that's very much in the mold of a Grant Williams, potentially with a more natural all-round game in terms of his kicking and that. And then a big bruiser who plays in the loose forwards.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've been picking those guys from the start as potential Boks, where I said I didn't think I saw a Springbok. When they played in the Rugby Championship, do I see a future Springbok test player who can threaten the incumbents and those kind of in the queue, but not necessarily as a starting 15? So, yeah, the glory of winning a tournament does also sometimes cloud things.
No, 100%. I think primarily for Russie's very much about Hoden. He wants to know how guys carry themselves. He's going to watch how they eat their breakfast, how they drink their coffee. He's very much about the people. And so I think that's what he wants to see. Also, how they so when they're in training, how do they respond to instruction? Are they coachable? You know, how do they respond to the pressure?
That said, I'm quite shocked that Neertland Fischer was sent back because he cut his hair, he grew a moustache, and he cried at the anthem.
Mate,
I thought that he was in for the next 10 years.
It's the Samson effect, mate. You never cut your hair. If you're a tight forward, you never cut your hair.
And it was one thing that he cut that, and I thought he had a cool hairstyle in that. But then he grew that like Bruder The Bermuda Triangle moustache. And I thought, this guy's means business.
Yeah.
And he got
I thought he was from CID, mate.
and then he got sent back. But also, don't dispel that he may still play against Australia and Cape Town in the second test.
Right.
You know, I've heard a few whispers that a lot of people, what do you say now? Salman Marat, he's not there. It's like, hang on a second, guys. Don't bet against Salman Marat not captaining the Springboks in that second test against Australia and Cape Town and then not getting on a plane to New Zealand.
Totally.
Don't bet against Evan Roos actually not getting a game in Cape Town.
That's actually a great point, mate.
And then not getting on the plane to New Zealand. Because the one thing that Rassie has done incredibly well here is manage playing minutes as opposed to give a guy minutes to see if he believes he's good enough.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, Ethan Hooker's 24 minutes wouldn't have been enough to get him selected, and Evan Roos's 24 minutes in a month would not have been enough to get him excluded. So he may have a plan for all of them. So I went through like the little exercise of the last 4 matches, the squad of players that he's used, because on one of the New Zealand podcasts, it said, they've been great, but they've chopped and changed so much. So these guys going to be battle hardened to come to New Zealand? Are they going to have enough game minutes under their belt and cohesion?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the cohesion is something that they have to get during the Australia test. And that's, I think there's a measure of, he's doing a great job getting minutes to everybody. But if he's going to chop and change between Australia and New Zealand, I think you are going to see some of that cohesion stuff. And maybe maybe he's willing to roll the dice on that. He's done that before. You know, I don't think Rusty's a guy who's going to pick a team for 17 tests in a row. He's just not that kind of guy. That's not his plan. That part of his whole depth experiment relies on a changeover, a turnover of playing personnel. So they may have a point in the cohesion, but they don't have a point in the playing minutes. The guys will all have playing minutes. And to your point, I think it's, in a way, that may be the master plan, is to have the guys that are going to feature against Australia get some minutes in the Currie Cup in the next couple of weeks, so that they hit the ground running. They haven't been sitting on ice or doing some training camp stuff. They're actually out there throwing passes at live ammo.
Will this statistic surprise you? Editor of SA Rugby magazine. No, a statistics man, deep dive analysis into the big teams. If I said to you that of the 37 chosen to front Australia or be eligible for selection in that first test match, 16th of August, Ellis Park, Johannesburg, that 9 of the 37 have played more than 50% of the game minutes in the last 4 matches.
Wow.
9.
Wow.
5 out of 17 in the backs and 4 out of 20 in the forwards. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it does.
Does this one surprise you? That 14 of the 37 picked have played less than 25% in game minutes.
Wow. Amazing.
And that of the 37, 6 players have completed an 80-minute game at least once.
So basically, I mean, the guys are in a conditioning camp, I suppose.
And that could
Something
also
like that
could also influence some of the performances you see
Yeah.
where a guy looks a bit lethargic and that. So what I did, again, another exercise, we got a bit carried away, went down a rabbit hole last night, okay, is I took the 4 matches, the Barbarians, the 2 tests against Italy, and the one-off test against Georgia, and position specific. So a guy like Sasha played some minutes at fullback, and he played some minutes at fly-half. And everyone's like, what's Rassie's main team? Which one will he play in that? So I identified a 15-1 based on who got the most minutes in that position over the last month. And I'm going to read it to you and you tell me if that surprises you, okay? So it's Fassi at fullback.
Yeah.
It's split between Colby and Edwell van der Merwe on the right wing. It's Jesse Creel, Damon Deolandi, Courtney Orense, Marnie Lebok, Grant Williams, Jasper Visser, 74 minutes at number 8 is the most anyone has played at number 8 in the last month. Not even a full game. Peter Steph Toy, 2 80-minute games for a guy who hadn't played a match in 7 months. I mean, the engine on that guy. Marco van Staden, 180 minutes out of a possible 320, and he played in 3 of the 4 games, okay? Ruan Nokia, Eben, again, Eben the 4 lock, 91 minutes, just more than 1 game, is the most a number 4 locks played in the last month. And then Will Colo, 98 minutes, Malcolm Marks, the most used in 3 of the matches, 152
Wow.
out of 320, and Oxenchair 142 out of 320 minutes. So a lot of those guys in the last month, a lot of them have played less than a game or just over a game and a half. So fatigue is certainly not going to be an issue in terms of game time and game minutes. But watching the podcast from New Zealand, I don't know which one it was, but they kept on saying that, are these guys going to be caught like they were a couple of years ago when they sent arguably our strongest 12 players there? We pumped Australia here. Marnie Leboxtel had a cracker. I think scored 40-plus points at Loftus. Went over there and found ourselves 20.17-0 down after 15 minutes. When they played with incredible pace in their first 20 minutes, our guys were like basically still warming up. And then we came back and it was too late. Mahanga scored a great try. It was 35-20. That is the one thing that New Zealanders seem to be latching onto, is like they've primarily played the same kind of side for the first 2 tests and got a good workout against the French. Yeah, I mean, just is it fair comment, or is it like you're clutching at things here?
I think it is fair comment. I think what you have to also consider is that in the old days we had the off season, right? We knew the structure of the season. There was a start, there was an end, and so with the Boks playing in the middle of the year and in November, there was a protocol around how you get your players into camp, generally what condition they're in, and where the areas are that you need to improve from a conditioning point of view, or top up, or maintenance, or whatever. But now, not only is the season 12 months long, you've also got guys coming into camp from all over the world, from different leagues, different intensities, different endings to their campaigns. So I think it's quite a melting pot of conditioning standards. And I think part of the job early on in the middle of the season is probably to get everybody equalized. And so I think that probably speaks to this match, this Boks squad of 37, and who's been released and who hasn't. I think the guys that are sticking around, maybe some of the more surprising guys that are sticking around that 37-man squad, are there to top up on conditioning. And the guys who are short of game minutes, who need more game minutes, specifically sort of tapering towards the Wallabies series, if you want to call it that, are playing Currie Cup.
I'm going to just fly through some of the numbers and then just tell me, it's like, because there's a lay perception and then there's the reality. So, Alert 170 minutes, okay, involved in 2 games. Jean-Luc 42 minutes, hasn't played since that Barbars game. Vincent Cox 69 minutes, that's when his involvement. 33 and 36. Sia 69 minutes in the 1 game. Obviously Bongi 69 minutes. Franco Mossad 69 minutes. Asenati 63. Kwaka 61. 21, 20, and 20 over 3 games. Ergis Snyman, just the 2, 69 minutes. Coming off the bench, 33, 36. Marnus van der Merwe also, he's played more than Bongi, 36 and 44 gives him 80. Boam Venter just the 44 minutes. Another one who's played 3 games, Jan Hendrik Wessels, but his total just over a game, 88 minutes. Kobus Visa 19 and 44, and then Van Staden, as we said, 180 minutes. That's the forwards. But you look at those numbers, it is incredible innovation that a Bok coach could get through 4 matches, basically score 30 tries, have a very poor 25 minutes in that first test against Italy defensively, but for the rest be untroubled. And that in that month of actual game time, most of his players didn't actually put in an 80-minute effort. It was off the playing field of a match and into the training grounds where all the hard work has gone in preparation for a big rugby championship campaign, where you then could see a more settled side to go in their kind of World Cup type playoff games and win it. I just felt it.
It's interesting. So I'm looking, so you take the Barbarians match out because that's not a test match. They played 3 test matches and not one single Springbok played all 3 test matches. You got guys who played 1 test match or 2 of the 3, but nobody played the 3 test matches. That's interesting.
And if you look where guys where you just know it's not a doubt, So it's Chesler. And now they know they've got a capable replacement in Edwall, given Hayter. Kurtley, 3 matches. So he played 80, 80, and 80, Kurtley, okay? So he was the guy that 240 minutes, he is the left wing. There's no question about it. Sasha, they dabbled with him at fullback and at fluff. Marnie got more minutes than Pollard at 10. I got a feeling Marnie's going to start against Australia.
Could be.
With Grant Williams. They don't need a goal kicker to beat Australia and South Africa. And to keep him in the mix. And then Kane Moody just came in late, 136 minutes. Reinach there and there, about 70, keeping busy. And then you look at Graham Williams, was only really fit for those last two. He got 56 and 65 minutes. And then Damian Willemse, he got a full game 80 and then 26 off the bench. So it's the interesting thing about chatting to the likes of Kitsy and Dion Fourie over the last weekend was historically with Rassie and with Jacques Nienaber, the planning was such that they said that when you got into that first, so you're in the alignment camps, but once you got selected into that first kind of grouping, they would individually be able to tell you where they estimate your game minutes for the year. And obviously, if it's like Zels, you're going to be playing 600 minutes, but then Mark gets injured after day one, it may go up to 800 minutes. But by and large, they said they reverse engineer from the last test match of the year, and they tell you exactly from the outset, this is what we expect of you, this is what's going to happen. And I think that is where these guys have advanced Springbok rugby
Big
to.
time.
Well, this is a hell of an interesting conversation, guys.
If you do say so yourself.
You thought you were coming here just for a rant, eh? As some guy crudely said to me, can't wait to hear me talk about Evan Riss. I can't wait to see his reaction when he plays against Australia in Cape Town.
Who knows, man?
As Murat leads them out. So, yeah, I mean, it's a potent Bok 37 that he's picked. Lovely addition of those three players. And then I keep on saying, when you can send him a pimpy back home, when you're not necessarily interested in picking an Evan Riss, Neertland for sheer, what would the All Blacks do for a prop like that?
Mate.
You know, so it's when you look at the quality of players, Vincent, who is a very good rugby player. I mean, Australia he'd be starting against the British and Irish Lions. We are really spoiled for choice there.
Big time.
Again, the one area that I keep on saying, 9, Grant Williams really took it and shook it. Kobus Reiner, he's really an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Faf, someone said, "Hey, vir jou toffie geweest, vir jou and Zels." He played 41 minutes in a month. I don't think he showed anyone anything that he needs game time. That's what he showed. He needs to go and play and get some game time. I just don't know where he's going to be playing at the moment because he doesn't play in this country.
Correct.
So to me, his mission was one of the big ones because it's not like he can come back and play in the Currie Cup that starts this weekend. There's no rugby at the moment in Japan. So
that may be a conditioning thing, though. I mean, maybe those guys that come back from Japan, they've been off for a little bit, and you don't know who's carrying what kind of injuries. It may be related to some sort of a conditioning thing.
Well, as your mate, Muscle-Tech doesn't look like he needs conditioning. Damien Dialandi is looking great.
Yeah, they are looking great.
Added a lot more to his game as well. Plays a lot more freedom. The one I want to see, hopefully, to really get some game time in the Rugby Championship is Ethan Hooker. I mean, he was the Sharks Player of the Year. He was the Players Player of the Year. He's been outstanding since he came on the scene 2 seasons ago. He's 21 years old. He's 6'4". He weighs over 100 kilograms. He's 24 minutes that he's played against Italy in Cabrera. And I just remember that first hit he made. It's like he'd been in Test rugby for 100 tests.
Mate, if Dion Fourie can play hooker, Ethan can play hooker. Surely. Surely.
I don't know about Brandes. He's a special guy, man. I think he could play wing.
As you found out.
And fullback. I love that guy, man. I love that guy. What a story to tell. I mean, he is the inspiration for Springbok rugby. But you talk about inspirations as well, and we'll get back to the box and their squad. But Alan Zondag, one of my favorite rugby people, one of my favorite coaches, has launched, has authored a book with his son, AB Zondag, who's the Lyon defense coach at the moment. He's been in France for a while. He's at Toulouse. And it's called Attack, Attack, Attack. And I was invited to go to the book launch out at Stellenbosch yesterday opposite the Makoto Field. A glorious day in Cape Town. Just getting there closer to 2:45 for the 3 o'clock kickoff and just seeing about 1,000 school kids, boys, girls, competing in every sport. The tennis court's full, the hockey field's full, the rugby field's full, the gym's full as you kind of walk past those things. You've got Rennie's Primary there, you got Bloemhof, Akerstad Primary. It was just amazing. You got Paul Roos, obviously, and then going into this launch, and the security guard said, like, please just look for your name. There's so many people walking through, and it's alphabetical, and I just thought, this looks like a who's who of the late 80s and 90s of Springbok and Western Province rugby. And Zondi was in charge of Province in 96, and he's just, it's just early in my writing career, he's just one of those wonderful, wonderful human beings. And I always describe him, he was so kind to me as a young writer and so engaging and accommodating. And it was still in the days where you interview oaks in the change room, you're on the team bus. It's like things have changed radically now. So it was not sanitized at all. And you were down at training because there was no social media. Currie Cup was the big thing. Super Rugby had just started. And but Zondi's been some say a romantic, but he's always been a visionary of attack. And one of the nice sayings he had yesterday in introducing the book while his son was on a Zoom or Teams call from France. He said when they did the book, it was like, he said, Pa, I think you got to take some of those things out. Why? He says, because we do it a bit differently these days now. But John Dobson wrote the foreword as a proxy for his dad, Paul, whose idea it was for Zondi and his son to do this book. So Dobbo was there, but walking in there, seeing the Silver Fox, Gary Gold, was there.
Beautiful.
Gert Small was there. I said to Gert, you look younger every day. What are you drinking? What are you eating? Just could be that him and the Silver Fox are no longer in the Bulls with Jake, so that's why they're looking so good. Keo Aplon was there. Big Skulk was there. Not little Skulk, big Skulk, eh? With those big, as Dan Retief said, salad spoon hands, okay? Salad bowl hands. He was there. He was his Valbedacht wine farm, was also responsible for some of the appetizers beforehand. FC Smith, Springbok province player, got reminded again of the tackle against the Cheetahs. Carl Brown, Keo Aplon, Jerome Parvart, and Neil de Kock. Great to see him.
Beautiful.
10 Test Springbok, Stormers, 250 matches for Saracens. Justin Swart, back in his old stomping ground. His son, I think it's Jamie, he's at Paulrus now.
It was his birthday yesterday.
Yeah, oldest son went to Hilton. Justin, great servant of Province Stormers and the Sharks rugby. Springbok in the mid-1990s.
Yep.
Had the unfortunate, got injured on a tour, and Monty went into fullback and then kind of just stayed there. But yeah, guys also has played against the big guns, the Lombers of the world in their prime. So looking good, looking happy. And then Morne Visser, one of the characters, Springbok, Shark, Province. What people don't know, he was a great cricketer when he was younger. He could have easily have chosen cricket as his game. But yeah, and then some local club players, Gerard Witte, Villagers, Rian Cilliers. There were so many good guys there. And then obviously, no function is complete without the Hall of Famers. Hugh Blades was there.
Oh, magic.
Yeah, Hugh Bladen, and then Dan Retief, who basically co-authored the book. As Zondi says, took Zondi's words and put them into English. And he emceed and that. It was just a great rugby day. And I know for people who love the game, players, coaches, and even the layperson, this attack is going to be, you got to get the book. I went through pieces of it last night. There's 150 illustrations in terms of techniques, moves, attacking moves from everywhere. It's set piece play, broken play, training methods and that. You'll see the imagery of that. But there's just some things I want to read to you. I know this is turning into me chatting and not you chatting.
Go.
But Dobbo was there and he wrote the foreword. And his thing is attack is both an ideal title for this book, perfect way to describe Alan Zonder's approach to life. He says he's known Alan his whole life. He says both the son and the dad, masters of skill and attack. And they've been rugby romantics, but they've also been kind of realists within that romanticism. And he says, to paraphrase the advice of the late, great Basil Bay, he of Bishop's fame, also a rugby romantic, rather seduce the game than violate it. I just love that.
Great.
I just love that phrase from Dobbo, who goes on, and Dobbo's in the real world as well, with coaching the Stormers, director of rugby there, that in the modern game, it's not always as easy as attack, because results come into play. And then he says, every cliche comes out, play in the right areas, defend. But he goes on to say some wonderful things here. One of the things when I looked at it, he said he, as a 10-year-old boy, I used to listen to Alan talk passionately about the game, his eyes lighting up as he described the beauty of attacking rugby. And over the years, I've seen him achieve so many things, as has his son, AB. Self-indulging, I think this is so pertinent. This is a great honor for me. My father, Paul, and Alan were bound together by rugby. Paul described Alan as his favorite boy. And in my earliest memories, I recall their hours-long conversations and visits over the beauty of our marvelous game. I'm writing this forward as a proxy for my father, and I'm very grateful for the privilege. He says Richard Burton, he of Hamilton's fame as well, once described rugby as ballet, opera, and sheer bloody murder. But in this book lies the ballet and the opera. Attack, like Alan Abbey will have you do, and kids will pick up balls in the garden, mothers will sign them up for school, and people will flock to stadia everywhere because it is about ball in hand. And Ugo Mola, the very successful Toulouse coach, his forward talks about the inspiration that Alan was for him, how he changed his thinking when it came to coaching. And just in a summary of it, it's like they illustrate how to beat modern defense mindsets, 150 detailed diagrams. It breaks down the tactical and technical aspects that coaches and players need to create unstoppable attacking teams. And with dozens of action and historical photographs, it brings the game we love to life. So, and a guy brings the game we love, and I think I did chew his ear and his wife's ear off Sandy for a bit because I hadn't seen him for a while. Keith Andrews, one of my favorite players. He really was like one of the originals of the front row. Converted flank to front row.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen him for a while. And the last story I ever wrote about him was he played for UCT, and he was basically, he could have been at the Bermuda Veterans. And he just snapped over a drop goal to say goodbye to rugby. And the headline was, Andrews drops in to say goodbye.
That is magic, right?
And yeah, it was just great to see him. He's the cousin of Mark Andrews. And as he always says, two brothers, two sons, two very different individuals. But
Both great players.
yeah, one of my endearing memories of Poiki is the 92 tour, the first one we ever went on, the Springboks in France. Nas Buerta was leading that tour. Look, it was a time where we were just pariahs of world rugby.
Yeah.
We could have been 5 different nations in this country. Northern Transvaal didn't speak to Western Province. Transvaal didn't speak to the Cheetahs, and Natal, no one really knew who they were. Okay, and Nas was the captain. It was a fractured tour. John Williams was there. It was just awful the way things were done there. But again, you had to interview guys in the sheds and that kind of thing. And some other Boks, Donny Gabo, the tail end of his career, scored a great try. Nas kicked some points. The Boks won the first test match very unexpectedly. And you couldn't get into that change room afterwards to even get quotes and that kind of stuff. And then the non-playing reserves. And Poiki Andrews was one of them that day in those green blazers. He's just walking out. He'd go in and out and come back with Lion Lager beers for us. He'd say, boys, you don't even want to be in there. Just have a Lion Lager. And I always remember that. Yeah, just back in the day there. But wonderful servant of the game, one of the brightest guys, obviously.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. He always says the front rows are the brightest, okay? And one of the founding members of Personal Trust that's put so much kind of support into local club rugby, be it at UCT, be it at False Bay and that. But it was really cool to see those guys there and just to see them celebrate Alan Sondag and his son. Right. And to just see the passion that still exists around our game. And I think that's something we've lost in the modern game, where it's a struggle to try and get the 4 World Cup winning squads into a function, where we should just be celebrating these things. So yeah, it made for a really cool Wednesday afternoon, driving out to Stellenbosch and
time machine.
Yeah, and just seeing life.
Yeah.
And seeing kids playing sport.
The way it should be, man.
And the respect also of the kids when you walk in there and it's hallo meneer, gaan het meneer, links meneer, rechts meneer. You look again, you're in Goodwood, but not the UK Goodwood. But it was really cool to see Zondi's life ambition come to life and to do it with his son. I thought was just amazing. And then also that, with someone like Dobbo's late dad, for those that don't know, Paul Dobson, historian, a guy who lived everything was rugby in his life, which could explain Dobbo's love and passion for it. But also in the racial divide days, the guy who could still write about the history of non-racial rugby. He educated Dobbo about the Greenpoint track as much as he did about Newlands. And for him to be alive today and see the Springbok side so integrated would be like a kind of dream. But then for them to take his belief that you must do this. You must record this. This has got to be archived, your thinking, and it's got to be there for your son and your grandson and for generations. For him to actually follow through on that and do it, and then be in a position that John Dobson, the son, could actually write the forward to that, I think is just so beautiful.
It is beautiful, mate. So AB, in a way, I've kind of like been close to and in and around the Zondags during my time in rugby, and in the early 2000s, I actually lived in the same complex as Zondi, and so I bumped into him quite often in the sort of Blouberg area. And then he did the RPC Academy, which was his rugby academy, and I was coaching at the time, a junior coach, and had a few conversations with him around coaching, and learned some stuff from him, and then met his son AB, and AB is obviously the attack coach at Lyon now, and he's got some great things that he's doing. He came through with Toulouse and was there with Antoine Dupont and with their long kicking game and how they attack from transition. He's also pioneering some cool stuff there. So amazing rugby family, massive IP in there. I can't wait to read that book.
Yeah, and then also the one guy that I was going to hold to the end, who was there at one stage, they were testing the sound to see if AB could actually hear them, and this guy took the mic and he spoke in French. Beautifully.
Nick Mallet.
It wasn't Nick. Unfortunately, Nick couldn't be there. He's in France at the moment. And they couldn't hear it. And then he spoke again. And then AB spoke back in French. And then Dan asked, could you tell us what you just said? And this guy spoke in English, very good English. And he said, I just asked him, why aren't you here today? And he said, I'm in preseason. We're doing this. I'd love to be there and all that kind of stuff. And then he spoke in Afrikaans, and it was Bernard Leroux.
Oh,
and
okay.
What a guy, eh? And his resonance with Alan Zornach was that he said he didn't really have an appetite for rugby. He grew up basically mothered and fathered by his mom. And he said he just happened to play in his latter part rugby, and Zondi had opened the big academy in Rugby Castile, and he's from Moreesburg. Onflipse wêreld.
There you go.
Die Pieter Steef, en dan kom er nog een mannetjie, Bernard Leroux, Eyster, and he said, and Zondi said to him, you can be a Springbok. And he's like, nah, I don't even know if I want to play this game. He said, give me 2 years, you can be a Springbok. And he says, 18 years old, he got a contract with Boland, he played 4 matches, and then the Lions were Jake White was going to take him to the Lions, and then he got a medical joker to go to Racing 92, which was then Racing Metro in Paris. And he played 47 tests for France, captained them, made his debut on tour to New Zealand, played against the Springboks, played in 2 World Cups, and played over 200 matches for Racing. Ek sê vir jou, Zelkie, dis nou 'n mannetjie van Moreesburg. I love the Pieter Steef, but I'm mannetjie.
Wow.
Just what an incredible story. And he looked at Alan and he just said to him, you're the guy who told me I could be a Springbok. I'd never thought of it, but I ended up having a 15-year professional career, and I ended up captaining France and playing 47 test matches. And his team was going to Paris and just arriving. And I think this is also, it must have been the mom's influence, because a boykie from Moreesburg, he said he arrived there and he just fell in love with Paris, the culture, the food, the people,
Awesome.
and just such a celebrated career. So it really was a cool afternoon. I mean, it was like, those rugby afternoons are close to my heart in this hustle and bustle world that we live in, this social media cesspit that we have to endure every day, just to see the wholesomeness and the beauty.
Yeah.
Big strong guy Hempies the toy came in at one stage.
You said Tian Strauss was there.
Tian Strauss, the Kalahari kid, was there, man. And Dan also, he's from Uppington. Dan always tells a story about Tian. He was called the Kalahari kid, and how he used to catch wildebeest. He would be on his motorbike in full throttle. He'd get to that wildebeest and then let the bike go and he'd jump and wrestle the thing down. Tian was
Steve Irwin.
it's something like that. Praat jy Engels? I'm from Stol. Praat jy Engels? So,
That's insane, mate.
yeah, and he's looking good. I mean, you see how good some of these guys are in such good shape. I don't know what they put in the water there. But it's...
illustrious company, man. Neil de Kock, one of my all-time favorites. You'd be probably the captain of my underrated 15. Such a great player. It's all about timing. I mean, Keo Aplon, if Keo Aplon had come through now, this era of modern rugby, with the way they play defense now, that guy, I'm telling you, would have been on the shortlist for World Player of the Year, just like Cheslin Colby. He would be slicing and dicing teams to pieces. So, just fabulous, fabulous players, and some awesome company.
250 matches for Saracens. He played those 10 tests. Product of settlers. out in Belleville.
Yeah.
One of the more famous sons from settlers, Eric Simons, the cricketer, was the other one from that era. But a bright guy as well, you know, like bright guy.
Yeah.
Went to London. If he had not played for the Springboks, and he played in the Craig Davison US era, he would have played a lot of test matches for England. I mean, just such a loyal servant to Saracens. But also great to see the boys go there, but they all end up back in the Western Cape.
Fantastic, mate.
Boys end up back in Cape Town. And then talking about Peter Steff, obviously being my favorite, but then you think of the two blokes who went from this region, Peter de Villiers, the prop, and Bernard Leroux, and they both went for the same. Bernard Leroux went to just try something out, medical joker,
Yes.
and ended up basically making his life.
Love the culture.
Yeah, Peter de Villiers, as an under-20 province player, went over there to just kind of tour Europe, ended up playing 70 test matches for France, Scotland forwards coach. He was originally going to be part of Russie's management team.
Yeah.
His wife, who's French, dad got ill. He had to go back to Paris. And through that, I mean, that distancing and staying in South Africa.
Yeah.
But also another just wonderful guy. And I think we have so many of our South African players who head offshore with no ambition necessarily to play for that country. And they're not so good they get to play for the country. And I think they should be as heralded as the guys here. I mean, a guy like Bernard Leroux, 200 matches, say, for the Stormers and 47 tests, he'd be iconic. In this country, a lot of times he could walk through a mall and people actually wouldn't know who he is.
Spot on. Now, the globalism of the game has only sort of hit TV in South Africa more recently, right? Like top 14, if you left South Africa, people just didn't know who you were, where you were going. Now you've got more access to those broadcasts, and with South Africa being in the Northern Hemisphere, playing rugby there in the URC, there's more of an appreciation for those European leagues now. But like you say, you could have gone over there. I mean, Rory Cocker did enough damage here. It irritated enough people for people to remember exactly who he is when you walk through the mall. But there are other guys like Bernard Leroux who would just be anonymous.
Yeah, and I mean, Rory Cocker, I mean, just the impact he had playing over there. Disruptor,
Yeah.
won a top 14, play of the tour of the final, played for France, went to a World Cup. But I think deep down, would have chosen the box if he got a gap at that stage.
For sure.
But yeah, there's so many. I think it's important for us to continue to celebrate those guys and kind of what they've done there, because I've rarely heard a player go there and trash South African rugby, trash Springbok rugby. They talk with such affection and pride. CJ Stander being another one when he went to Ireland. He's back in Pretoria. But keys of the city to Munster, basically a British and Irish lion. Yeah, I'm sure we'll see Duan van der Merwe and Piers Kumman back in a few years as well. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful achievement. Only so many can play for South Africa. Only so many can play for the Springboks in Test rugby. And if your ambition is a little bit greater, go for it. Go overseas, and if you get picked, like, let's celebrate them. You know. So talk about celebration in the Springboks. We're talking about books. If you go to our WhatsApp channel onto the SA Rugby Magazine socials, we'll be promoting the book. We'll be having a few extracts out of it. As Zondi says, this is for the coaches, this is for players, but it's also for the layperson. You read this book, you will learn something. I mean, Dan Retief, Hall of Famer. I think he was on the boat with Paul Rose. Like, I think I was serving them drinks. But Dan, Alan said, what? Dan even told me something. He says, when Dan explained certain English words to me, that they weren't swear words, he said, Dan said he felt informed. He had greater insight from kind of what they had put together. But it is if you're a rugby fan in this country and you got passion there, but this is a book that's going to make you see the game a lot differently.
Yeah.
And actually understand player selections a little bit more. A book that's going to inspire, or a series of books, is Don Nelson Publishing. And why Don's close to my heart is the first ever book I authored was Chester Williams' biography.
Yep. Not a bad one to start with.
Not a bad one to start with. It was still one of the most special books you've written, especially in terms of the education that I got from the racial and non-racial side of rugby. Chester growing up in Paarl, playing on the Federation side, which was then seen playing with the whites. The non-racial was one street down, guys were playing there. They wouldn't speak. It was like a war zone there. But just a wonderful, wonderful man, Don Nelson. His son, Russell, played for Ulster, played, I think, a couple of games for the Stormers. He's brought out a series. It's called The Ultimate Springbok Heroes. It's Colby, it's Sia, it's Eben. There's 6 of them. You'll see them kind of flash up on the screen. That can also be ordered online. Well, you can get exclusive books and whatever, but you can also, we'll put the email address there for him. This is primarily aimed at youngsters
Yeah.
in junior school.
Yeah.
Schools should get this book and put it in their libraries.
Totally.
It's like showcasing where these guys came from, and they come from all different walks of life. To say if a Cheslin Colby could make it from Kraaifontein going to Brackenfell High, if you're good enough, you can make it. You don't have to have been at Polrus or have been at Bishops. It's saying to the guys who went to Paul Gym, this is the standard. The guy set the standard, Andre Pollard, etc., etc. So, yeah, I mean, everything. We've got for the youngster a book, and we'll be giving away some as well as prizes. We'll also be giving away a few attack books as prizes, so kind of stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
And then talking of prizes.
I was going to say, mate.
Talking of prizes.
Don't forget about
our Macron boys, we're bringing out our range.
Yeah, we've got a couple of winners. So obviously, I don't know, first up, let me show you guys the Barbarians jersey that we had in the competition. Not too shabby, signed Barbarians jersey.
Beautiful.
Look at that guy. I might just keep that. No, I won't. I can't, because it's going to Jacques de Lange, mate. He's the winner of our Barbarian shirt. He's from Goodwood. So that'll be coming to you, Jacques. Congratulations. And then the winner of the, sorry, let me just check this out. The winner of the Georgian jersey is JJ Bezadenhout from Wellington. Congrats, JJ. And then Stephen Minnie from near Dispatch. I'm not actually sure where this place is. Currie Cup? You heard of Currie Cup?
Apparently near Dispatch, near Russie's World.
And there we go. Nabe Dispatch, says JJ. Stephen Minnie has won the Italy jersey, the Macron Italy jersey. So there's our three winners: Jacques de Lange, JJ Bezadenhout, and Stephen Minnie.
So thanks for that, Zels, and well done. I saw that little thing was going around and around. Sid, I'm sorry, bud. We try to get you in there, but if you kind of are lying to us, you can't win the prizes. But we may sneak you an attack book, okay? So you don't have to swear at the TV so much. But looking at the local rugger, Zels, it's Currie Cup. Uckers has now joined the Bulls. There is a different Currie Cup squad, a very potent one that the Bulls have assembled.
Wow.
Jake's parting shot to the world. He has a very, very strong side.
Fantastic.
They're playing a province team in the opening game this weekend in Cape Town. Province team that has very few URC players in it. It's made up of junior box. It's made up of 13 club players,
Yeah.
and some 7 Springboks. And I think it's important for people to understand the nature of the Currie Cup now. And yeah, I've been a big proponent of changing the name, because people still want to believe it's the premier competition. It's the Currie Cup of old. It's not. It is the feeder competition into the United Rugby Championship, Investec Champions Cup. Those are the primary ones now. So you've got North-South. It's the Bulls against Province. And if you just look at the two makeup of the two sides, it's really like an amateur side playing against a professional side. And don't be shocked when you see the result and the Bulls take a beating. No, they
I like how you teed that up. No, look, that's 100% right. I mean, it is. The Currie Cup is definitely a feeder competition, but that doesn't really change the value of it for me, in the sense that all that means is it's the stars of tomorrow. It's not the stars of today. So the stars of today are playing in the URC. They're playing for the Springboks. But if you want to see Peter Steph du Toit in action before anybody else knew who he was, watch the Currie Cup, because that guy's going to be playing from some club that you probably haven't heard of, and he's going to be playing the game of his life. This is his shot to make it in the pros. If you're a fan of the underdog like I am, these games will be of interest to you. So the unions that load the teams with sort of more star power are obviously going to be more successful. But I'll be watching the Currie Cup to see who's the hidden gem there, who's the nugget that's going to come through and potentially fight for higher honors in the future. So if your URC team suddenly unearths a guy that they feel because of injuries later in the season, it all happened in the Currie Cup. And I think that's why it's worth watching.
And if you look at it, I mean, you followed the SA Cup. You're a guy who just loves club rugby, you love schools rugby, and you love kind of the domestic game. I mean, throughout a packed URC season, I mean, the one guy I could count on, like, what's going on in the SA Cup was you. You tell me who was playing. You tell me, watch out for that guy. You've got a big affinity for the Cheetahs and Franz Steyn. I see he's saying he's nervous. He's anxious about Bullen.
I love it.
It's great to see an icon of the game like that be so passionate about
And transparent.
the Currie Cup, for example.
100%.
But what I love the most is he's talking about playing Boland. Boland are in the Currie Cup. There's such amazing things going on there.
Yeah.
Griquas, top dogs, they're starting to flex a bit like a URC
You said
team.
flex, mate. Now you have to talk about the Pumas.
And the Pumas, obviously.
Stonehouse.
Hey?
He's there. He's largely in
Sweet
charge.
Caroline.
There you go.
There
There you go, mate.
I dig that guy,
Oh,
Jimmy
love it.
Stonehouse.
Love Jimmy.
So there are characters there. I just kind of feel for the average person who still thinks Currie Cup, well, I can't believe Province lost to Bullen. Yeah, they did, because Bullen's a better team at the moment. It's not the URC team that's losing to them.
Sure,
That kind of thing, just to understand the
Yeah.
dynamic. And they just say put a value to that, not see it as the Currie Cup is still our strongest competition. It's not.
No, Currie Cup, it does have these junior world champions in it. It's got Blitzbox in it. It's got a bunch of young up-and-comers that were on the fringes of the URC. If you are interested in young talent and sort of forecasting where they might land, it's a great competition to watch, I think.
Well, we talk about young talent. We're going to wrap it up on this and where they're going to land. They're going to land at every provincial union, at every URC region, and some of them will land in a Springbok jersey, because it's the SA under-18s in August. They'll be playing an international series, and they'll be playing it at Bullen Lampo, at Parelgym,
Sure.
and at Boys High.
Sure.
Now, for the international opposition, we need to tell you that is a southern suburbs nightmare for any schoolboy to be coming to those.
If you can speak English, you can't win there.
Yeah, like, listen, if you are from England, you need to know one thing. It's not where you want to go past Okavango, okay? But they've picked an SA under-18 squad, and they've picked an SA under-18 A squad. And Kevin Foot's involved, and a lot of the under-20 and Dave Vessels is involved,
Excellent.
to try and bring the balance together of under-18s, under-20s, and they must mirror
that's
what the
genius.
Springboks are doing.
Genius.
And it doesn't help you've got a player who doesn't fit into Rassi's kind of
Correct.
identification of a position or a play. But to showcase again the strength of rugby in the Western Cape, there's 20 Western Province players combined between the two teams.
Wow.
20. That's out of 52, okay? From the same under-18 kind of international tournament last year, I think 8 of those players played in the under-20 World Championship final. So there is a connection between one to the other. But the big gun you want to go out there and watch is Marcus Miller. And what you said, a combination with Ethan Adams, because at schoolboy level, those oaks are big and strong enough to be playing in the Currie Cup this weekend.
For sure.
But that's in August. We'll talk about that closer to the time. Zels, we don't have any Springbok rugby, which doesn't mean we can't scream box by 10.
Indeed.
We do have the Currie Cup is back. And to quote the late Tommy Loubser, when he took out Bali Swat in a Western Province Transvaal game back in 95 when it was still the Currie Cup. And at the first scrum engagement, he said to him, "We've seen you scrumming in the World Cup, but can you scrum in the Currie Cup?" And then he proceeded to destroy him, okay? So we don't quite have that lure for the Currie Cup anymore, but like you say, we do have the youngsters, the stars of tomorrow there, and thanks for giving us that perspective. But if you can just repeat, because I don't think anyone's going to believe you, if you can repeat, and we can clip it, and we can show it again next week, what you are calling for Melbourne in front of 100,000, what score are you again predicting, and who's going to be wearing a gold medal after that match?
Like a boomerang, the Wallabies are coming back. Wallabies by 3. 29-26. Get ready.